So with the Fox trade, I was curious to see how the Kings would look in their first game without him. And as I was watching the game, I noticed something strange. Now on this channel, we typically talk about X's and O's, but managing the game is also just as important. And Christie had called some very questionable timeouts, but you'll see how he redeemed himself down the stretch. To understand how it went down, we have to understand how this game played out. Sabonis has been balling this season, but he was matching up with Rudy Gobert in this specific game. And let's just say he wasn't having a fun time. He's in the post against Gobert, and look at how much he's cheating to Sabonis' left hand. Sabonis tries to go left anyways, and then tries to spin, but he's in an awkward position and misses the shot with his right. A minute later, Anthony Edwards misses the layup, and Sabonis books it because Gobert is behind the play. He gets the ball, misses the shot, and his teammate helps clean it up. So with Gobert in the game, Sabonis never had any success at the rim, so he was settling for jumpers instead. Midway through the second, his only points were off this putback layup, but Minnesota was about to hand him a gift. When Ant runs the pick and roll and finds a little bit of space to get fouled, Chris Finch elected to go with backup center Luka Garza for Rudy Gobert. On that first possession, Monk runs pick and roll with Sabonis, and he catches it pretty deep in the paint. As we mentioned, Sabonis doesn't have much touch with his offhand, and he doesn't hit the rim. On the next possession, the Kings have a chance to run, and Sabonis calls for the ball. He's in the middle of the floor this time, so he goes to his left. Garza actually plays it right, but then he fouls him. Sabonis does capitalize by making both free throws, and he was licking his chops for more. Just a minute later, Monk is leading the break, and Sabonis gets himself into the post. Now that he can use his left hand, he backs down and floats it over Garza. So now he's starting to get into a rhythm. After another Timberwolves miss, Sabonis is looking for the ball to cook Garza before Doug Christie calls timeout. And I'll rewind to show you how this all plays out.
And Doug Christie is going to call.
Basically, Sabonis couldn't believe it because he knew he could cook Garza again. I think Christie realized he even made a mistake because he says "my fault" at the end. So after the timeout, you might be able to guess who comes back in the game. Rudy Gobert. More importantly, Minnesota learned their lesson because Luka Garza never came back into this game. Not surprisingly, Sabonis never got any clean looks. Even the putbacks weren't gimmies either. Now let's fast forward to the fourth quarter. The Kings are up 2 and are trying to extend the lead by running pick and roll. Monk misses the fadeaway, and Edwards, who wants to check back in the game, has a recommendation.
Somebody had to get the ball.
So they try to call timeout, though Dillingham sees Reed and airmails the alley-oop. Edwards is pissed that they couldn't get the timeout, but the Kings give another gift as it's Christie who calls timeout after the Kings get it over the line. To be fair, he did want Keegan Murray back who was balling, but at the same time, Sacramento now has to deal with Anthony Edwards in a really close game. Luckily for them, the only points Ant scored were these free throws in the fourth to cut the lead to 3. Which leads us to the last minute of the game. The Wolves are down 5, so Conley runs pick and roll and draws 2 defenders before snapping it to Reed, who drives and floats it in with the foul. He's able to knock down the free throw to cut the lead down back to 2. With the game on the line, Christie made a really good subtle adjustment. Notice how Sabonis is looking at Christie. He wants to screen for DeMar, but he stops a few times. That's because Christie's telling him to wait before setting the screen, and when he does, DeRozan turns the corner and finishes over Gobert to make it a 2-possession game. But I want you to notice the clock. Because Christie told Sabonis to hold up, the Kings score with 30 seconds left, which is the perfect scenario. That only gives Minnesota about 3 to 4 seconds to score and not have to foul. And even if they somehow got a 4-point play, Sacramento has plenty of time to set up a game-winning shot. And this worked out as well as it could get. They take away Edwards' look at the 3, so Conley then has to drive and settle for the 2. With the clock at 22.8, Minnesota is now forced to foul and hope that Sacramento misses their free throws. And fittingly, it's Sabonis who's at the line, and he makes both free throws to close the game out and win their first game in the post-Fox era. So as much as we focus on the X's and O's, a coach's feel for how the game is unfolding is just as important to winning. And while Christie did mess up with those 2 timeouts, he set up Sacramento for the win with fantastic clock management. I've really been liking how he's coaching this team, and I'm really excited to see how the Kings squad looks moving forward. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like and subscribe. You can support me on these platforms, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.